Okay, are our panels ready? Everyone's ready, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
ready.
so I start our webinar. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar today. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the audience for attending today's webinar. Let me introduce myself. My name is Farah Nadia, and I will be responsible for hosting today's webinar. Before we begin, I'm glad to introduce to all of you about our panels for today. Firstly, let us welcome our first panel, Mr. Muhammad Shahid. Mr. Shahid has been a football fan since he was little. Today, Mr. Shahid will share knowledge with us from a sports fan perspective. Next, our second panel is Ms. Nur Akila. She is a sport teacher from SMK Pasir Gudang who has 5 years experience as a basketball player. Then, our third panel is Ms. Nur Atika. Ms. Atika is a journalist from 360 Company. If you are interested in sports, you will be familiar with Ms. Atika since she writes a lot of articles related to sports. Finally, our special guest is Ms. Fatin Nadira. I bet you all knew Ms. Fatin, right? She was our athlete who played archery in the SEA Games back then. Despite her busy schedule, she still spent her time to join us for today's webinar. Okay, since all of you already know our panels, let us begin our webinar today. As we all know, the topic for our webinar is why youth should be engaged in sports. Okay, so first of all, who is youth? Youth is best understood as a period of transition from the dependence of childhood to adulthood's independence. That's why, as a category, youth is more fluid than other fixed age groups. Yet, age is the easiest way to define this group, particularly in relation to education and employment, because youth is often referred to a person between the age of leaving the compulsory education to finding their first job. The United Nations, for statistical purpose, define youth as those persons between the age of 15 to 24 years. Okay, how about sports? According to Oxford Dictionary, sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or a team competes against another or others for entertainment. And today, we will see how youth and sports are related to each other. Okay, we all know that despite the fact that the sport has billions of fans in the world, the new generation are beginning to lose their interest in this. The generation are changing and their consumption of entertainment as well. Those born between 1994 to 2010 are known as Generation Z, are characterized by growing along with the internet as well as its massive use, and that is where the problem appears for the sports industry. According to Al Confidential, before sports league had to compete with each other to attract a larger audience, but now more powerful competitors are added, which are digital media and streaming such as Netflix, Twitch, YouTube, and hundreds of public access platforms. So, Mr. Shahid here, one of the youth who is still interested in sports, can you share with us the benefits of sports for youth from the fans' perspective?
Thank you, Miss Farah. Why you should be engaged in sport? It's an interesting topic to discuss. However, I'm a sport fan, so I will tell from the point of view of sport fans. But before I tell the benefit of sport to young people, I want to share some info about sport fans. There are two types of sport fans. It is a fanatic fans and regular fans. Okay, we will always see about sport fanatic. They are the one who will rock the stadium during the match. Sometimes they will cause chaos if the team they support lost, or maybe for some reason. Okay, for example, like Kuala Lumpur against Langor, if I'm not mistaken, there are two fans of this team fighting. Uh, from that, I can see they are really truly fans of their team. Okay. In short, Fnatic are very supportive of their team. Okay, for the second type is regular fans. They look at sport just to enjoy it. This type of more numerous than Fnatic fans, but they don't stand out. Then often see the development of sport. In my opinion, they really enjoy watching sporting events. Okay, back to the question. Why youth should be engaged in sport? Here I will tell a few of the benefits of sport for youth. First, strategy. This is to learn strategy in sporting events. Strategy is sport. Strategy in sport is important for defense and counter-attack of opponent. At the same time, you can apply this concept in daily life. Like if you are a student, if you want to excel in a lesson, then you need to know the topic that will come out on the exam, so they can you prepare that you can prepare to pass the exam and get good result. Just like the concept in sport, you need to devise a strategy to achieve a goal. And the second benefit is knowing the skill in sport. Many technique and skill are available in sport, such as badminton like smash, football, wallet or maybe turn, hockey like a drive, and maybe other sport. Just knowing this skill alone will have a bad effect on yourself. Knowing the technique is very important to avoid serious injury, and this is important for those who want to get involved in sport. This is like advantage in yourself that I think benefit to you to join sport. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shahid, for the answer. I'm pretty sure I'm just a regular fan. Okay, actually, there are a lot of benefits of sport for youth, but Mr. Shahid just pointed out two which are from the fan's perspective, learning strategy and knowing the skills in sports. Now, let's ask our second panel, Miss Akila. Since Miss Akila is a basketball player who is now becoming a teacher, in your opinion, what are the advantages of sports to the youth nowadays?
Continue by explaining some advantages of sport to the youth nowadays. First of all, with sport, it can increase physical activity and health is guaranteed. From this young age, we need to always have the attitude to always play sport so that we will get used to maintaining health. This is because we can remove all the toxins in the body through sweat that we play from sport activities. Furthermore, if the sport is start from the beginning or from the young age, the muscle and or the joints of teenagers are still soft, so they can prevent them to have a cramp. Uh, Next slide. In addition, obesity cases can be prevented. As you can see in the slide, Malaysia has the highest number of obesity cases in Asia, ahead of other countries such as Singapore and Thailand. Obesity is one of the diseases that are often faced by teenagers in Malaysia. So with sport, it will reduce the risk of obesity. Next, sport also can help enhance leadership skills. To be a leader, it's not enough to sign, distribute tasks or plan structure, but it's necessary to the team leader to commit to the team members to earn their trust. For example, in a football team, there is definitely a captain to be appointed by the head coach. So the captain is assigned to control the team members to follow the rules and maintain their disciplines. So a captain needs to set a good example to group members in order so that he or she can be a role model for the group. Last but not least, it also can be used as platform to find a new talent. Teachers or coaches can detect the new talents of the teenagers in various sporting events such as by holding competitions. With that, the teacher can polish the talent of the student with enough training so that they can play well during the competition. As the result, the school can produce a high quality athletes with high potential that can play in higher level. That's all from me, and I hope many young people, many young generation will be interested in sport after this. I will pass it into Mrs. Farah to continue.
Okay, thank you, Miss Akila, for the answer. Of course, there are many advantages of sports to the youth, but Miss Akila had mentioned only four just now. First, it can increase our physical activity and health, which can prevent the obesity. Then it also can enhance leadership skills and find new talent. Well, nowadays, sports even can become a career. So if you have a talent in a certain sport, why not go for it, right? So moving on to our next panel, Miss Atika. Can you explain to us what kind of issues that usually occur in the sports industry?
Okay. Thank you, Miss Farah. Hello everyone, I am Atika, a journalist from 360 Company and always cover anything about sports. There are many issues that happen in the sport industry. Firstly, the issue is about ethical issues. Why are ethics important in the sport world? How a many how a game is played matters. Taking injuries, using steroids, altering a bat so it can hit a baseball farther, or purposefully injuring star players all compromise the integrity of competition. Sporting events are not wars, after all, although deep rivalries often exist. Instead, competitions should allow athletes equal opportunity to demonstrate who performs best within an established set of rules. Strong ethical principles in athletics communicate respect for everyone involved in a sport, which is the athletes, the fans, the coaches, and so on. Ethical behavior in sport can refer to protecting the health of athletes, following the rules, respecting opponents, demonstrating self control in the face of frustration or defeat, taking responsibility for one's mistake, and not blaming others, and also not trying to gain unfair advantages. Secondly, legal issues are also important to prevent in sport. There are many top legal issues in sport which are employment, contracts and system, torts, antitrust issues, and exculpatory agreements and liability waivers. For example, in antitrust issues, the professional team sports of football, baseball, basketball, and hockey have all had legal battles over the application of antitrust laws. Although Major League Baseball (MLB) has held an exemption from antitrust laws, which have kept new competitive leagues from forming because the MLB could restrict its players from joining another league. And last issue is about discrimination issue. Discrimination in sport is never acceptable. By quickly and thoroughly investigating harassment and discrimination claims, sport organizations can make their workplace more inclusive and diverse. For example, there are four discrimination which is gender discrimination, racial discrimination, religious discrimination, and disability discrimination. The society is working toward becoming more inclusive of all races, genders, sexualities, religious, and abilities. Discrimination in sports continues to be a blight on what should be a fun atmosphere. So we should strive to thoroughly and quickly investigate all examples of discrimination to make sports inclusive. That's all the issue that I can share with you because we do not have enough time. Thank you for having me and see you later.
Alright, thank you, Miss Atika, for the great sharing. Wow, I have never known that there are a lot of issues in the sports industry. Let me summarize it for you in case this is the first time you heard about this, just like me. Okay, so first we have ethical issues where we discuss about protecting the health of athletes, following the rules, respecting opinions, demonstrating self-control in the face of frustration or defeat, taking responsibility for one's mistake and not blaming others. And lastly, we have not trying to gain unfair advantages. Next, we also have a legal issues where we discuss about employment contracts and system, torts, antitrust issue, and exculpatory agreements and liability waivers. Lastly, we have discrimination issues, which are discussed about races, gender, sexualities, religions, and abilities. Now, Miss Fatin, our national athlete, will answer the last question for this session. As an athlete who has a passion for sport, which I can say you enjoy it, can you share with us a few tips on on how to choose and start a sport?
Okay, thank you, Miss Farah. Well, nowadays need to be guided on how to choose the best sport that is suitable for them. Let me share with you guys the tips to start and how to choose the right sport for young people. First of all, you need to consider your health as you have to train for a long time. Not every sport out there is suitable for your health. Different sports demand different physicality, intensity, and time. Those people who have health problems should first consult a doctor before diving into their game of choice. Those for example, people with pacemakers are advised to avoid playing collision games because of the device implanted in their bodies. This will affect their health not just for a few weeks, but maybe for a lifetime. Okay, for the second tip, you guys can try an assortment of sports first. Before settling on the right spot for yourself, you should try a variety of activities first. This way, you compare the various sports using reasonable parameters. Choose those sports that ticks your boxes. You'll find out that you're a good basketball player when you presume football is the right sport for you. The famous Michael Jordan once tried his luck in baseball, but later opted for the NBA, where he thrived immensely. The aim of trying a variety of sport is to give you time to make better decisions. Okay, the last tip is you must consider your personality and needs. A game that fits both your personality and needs is worth grabbing. For example, competitive individuals who like playing around electric or simply huge crowds can go for games like football, rugby, or basketball, among others. On the other hand, people who are competitive but hate crowds can go for games like swimming, cycling, and athletics. Okay, that's all the tips that I can share for today. However, there are still a lot of tips that you guys can consider, especially to those who really want to be an athlete as their career. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, make sure to write that down. It is an honor for us to get tips from our national athlete, right? Thank you, Ms. Fatim, for the important tips. For sure, we need to consider our health before choosing a sport. Health is the number one priority in our life, right? Then try an assortment of sports, and lastly, consider our personality and needs. Choosing a sport which fits our personality totally will bring more joy to ourselves. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the Q&A session. But before that, I would like to remind you to fill in the attendance form that has been given in the chat box. So anyone who has a question can turn on your mic or just write it down in the chat box.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes, you may ask.
Okay, I have a question for panel number 2. Okay, in your opinion, why do students nowadays tend to play computer games rather than do sports? I hope panel number 2 clear with my question.
Okay, great question from Miss Nur Shafina. Thank you for give the question to me. I think students nowadays tend to play computer games rather than do sports. The main cause of children spending most of their time playing online game is that they are not giving uh, enough knowledge and understanding about the cons of playing online game. The children are not educated by school teachers or the parents about the health related such as weak eyesight and poor mental and physical development due to playing computer games. I hope I answer your question. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions?
Yes, I have. Um, I would like to ask Miss Fatin. Miss Fatin, did you ever lose in your games? If yes, how do you handle yourself to become better?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, I did. Last game before the Southeast Asian Games, back then, I lost a game in the competition in Canada, and that made me feel very down for a whole day. But despite that, I keep telling myself that I can win the SEA Games with the support from my coach, family, and of course from my fans also. I keep training until the day of SEA Games, and it was a little hard for me because it was my first time to join the SEA Games. However, I still managed to stand up and bring back our country's fight in the SEA Game. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you for the answer from both of our panelists. Although we still have a lot of questions, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, right, to share with the audience. Unfortunately, the time is running short. In conclusion, you should be engaged in sports because it brings many benefits. Nowadays, sport is not only a hobby where we did during our leisure time, but it also can be a career. So I would like to thank you again for your attendance and attention. Also, a big thanks to our panelists for their informative and interesting sharing. Hopefully, today's webinar will be beneficial for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and hope to see you again. Bye.